And the year you were married was?
When I was 15,
What year was that?
1936.
Wow.
I was 15 36, and actually we were married in February of 37.
Wow, Grandma, you gotta tell me because I don't know the story. So how was it that you met Grandpa? How'd you guys fall in love?
Well, uh, my cousin that lived in Madison Heights, my Uncle Albert, had a bunch of kids too, and we used to visit back and forth in the summers. And Eunice was visiting us, and she told me that she had to go home, that she had a date with a sailor on Sunday.
Ooh.
And then Mom let me go with her home. And then after we got home, she said she didn't really have a date with a sailor, but his brother was a sailor.
Uh-huh.
So on Sunday, when they came out, Henry came with Ernest. Henry was the sailor.
Uh-huh.
And so he talked to me all day instead of Ernest did, instead of talking to her. So she had to date with the sailor after all. And so that was when I met him.
And what did you guys do that day? Where'd you guys go?
We went up to Coolwell, where Uncle Albert had bought a lot with intending to build on it.
Mm.
And we drove up to Frances, Eunice's sister, drove up to Coolwell, and we all got out and hiked all over the property.
Really?
There.
That was the date?
Yeah, that was the date.
That's a good idea, Grandma. Thank you.
We walked all over, everywhere up there. I've never been back to Coolwell since. But then the next day I had to come home. And so about a couple of weeks later, we didn't have a telephone then. One Saturday, here come this car down to the house down there, and
remember what type of car it was? Big black car?
A little old fashioned car of some kind of Ford, I believe. Randall Peters, one of Ernest's friends that lived out there near the Lees where I had met him, brought him out to the house. Supposedly, my sister Lucille had met Granville and liked him. Supposedly they came to see Lucille. And Ernest, of course, talked to me all the time they were there.
So it was very clear that Ernest liked you. He talked to you.
Yeah.
Right? And you just listened to him, right?
Uh-huh. To some extent. And then he started coming out regularly. He knew where the place was. And he'd come out on a weekend. And
how old was he?
He was 25 when I was 15.
He's a smart man.
10 years older than I was. And we used to hike all over the area, sometimes to Timberlake, sometime up to Forest. And we could go across our cow pasture and across the creek and up the hill. We were at Poplar Forest, and we walked over there several different times when he would come. So
you guys, for fun, you would go hiking. That's how you would spend your time together.
That's what we did.
Wow.
Mabel's family lived at Timberlake. And
Mabel was your best friend growing up.
Mabel's sister was my best friend. Her younger sister Ruth, and we were in the same room at school. Anyway, we
You would hike around there.
in one place or another, and Ruth, I quit school, of course, and we ran off and got married.
You quit school to run off and get married? Wait a second, Grandma. He went from this man who would just talk to you a lot and come visit to all of a sudden you want to run away and get married with him?
Well, it was a year later.
What happened? What happened in that year? Specifically, at what point did he become the man who would just come over and talk with me a lot to the man I was going to run away with?
He grew on you, I guess.
is that how you're going to describe it? Okay.
But we got a lot closer, of course, and about a year, a little more later, I quit school and went to work.
You were what? You were a freshman in high school?
No, I was a sophomore.
Sophomore.
And I got a job. Lucille did too. And so I got a job, and we worked. I worked for a whole 2 weeks till I got my first pay, and I bought an outfit with it, and we went and got married.
So you went and you got married, and you went to work, and you left school all so that you could be with him.
Yeah. And so we got married in February of 37. And we got a little apartment down on Park Avenue. And we lived there for a while, and it was expensive to ride the bus every day for him to work. He worked at Bell's down on Commerce Street.
Bell's? What's that?
J.P. Bell's was a stationery store.
Uh-huh.
And they sold everything in the line of stationery, and they made rubber stamps, and that was his job, was to make rubber stamps.
Oh, wow.
And he also worked part-time up in the photography section, framing pictures and that kind of thing, when he had other spare time. So we moved down on Clay Street, which was just 2 blocks up from Main Street, and he could walk to work every day. So we lived there, I don't know, for a while. And then we got a little apartment up on Union Street up on White Rock Hill. And then we moved out to Waterlick Road in a little house next door to the one Mom and them had rented. Belonged to the same man. There was a little new house. Nobody had lived in it yet. So we lived there for a year or so, and that's where we were living when Sonny was born the following year.